What's going on, everyone? So Jake Fisher gave us an update in regards to Zach Lavine and a potential trade destination. So he listed a handful of teams that he prefers. So as the Chicago Bulls continue to test the waters on a potential Zach Lavine trade, Stargard has the Los Angeles Lakers, Miami Heat, and the Philadelphia 76ers as his list of preferred destinations. So Lakers, Heat, and Sixers, three of his most preferred destinations. There are talks about the Lakers being the most preferred, but the Sixers and the Heat are two teams that are on the list as well. It's like, hey, if I can't go to Lakers, send me to these other two teams. Now, he did list two other teams that should be kept an eye on, and each of those teams have registered some level of interest in Lavine, dating back to when the Bulls started shopping him in the offseason. Fisher also said Lavine has an eye on joining the San Antonio Spurs, which I think is really interesting, and he would welcome a move to the Sacramento Kings as well. Also, it was reported late yesterday that the Toronto Raptors are interested in Zach Lavine as well, but as far as I've seen, Zach Lavine hasn't mentioned that. These are the five teams in which he has mentioned. San Antonio, I think, is a little interesting, and let's dive into it. But first off, two things. One, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. And secondly, I don't want anyone to expect a trade anytime soon. If any trade does happen, whether it's with the Lakers or it's with Miami or it's with whomever, Zach Lavine very likely isn't getting traded till the trade deadline or close to it. Most teams can't even trade guys until December 15th or even January 15th. And more likely than not, the Chicago Bulls are going to wait as long as possible so that way they can get the potential best return. Unless somebody just offers some crazy package and just says like, hey, this is what we want. But more likely than not, this is going to be dragged out between now and the trade deadline. Right? Maybe it happens, a week or so before, but don't expect anything till like mid to late January at the earliest. And I wouldn't even be surprised if it's closer to that trade deadline or on the trade deadline. But as far as preferred destinations, first, San Antonio is interesting to me because if he was like 24, 25, I could understand that. I could be like, okay, like, yeah, right? Like, he's young, go and pair up with Victor. But at 28 years old, wouldn't you want to go to a contending team? Right? Because by the time San Antonio is a legit contender, Zach Lavine's probably going to be 32, 33 maybe even older, right? Because you figure it's going to take probably 3 to 5 years for San Antonio to legit be one of the top teams in the league. And so, does Zach Lavine and Victor Wembanyama, is that a pairing that makes sense and actually works? I don't think so, right? You're already seeing, the issues that San Antonio has, already with, just completely ignoring Victor Wembanyama and they don't really have the guards that can really set him up properly. Right, so I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Sacramento, another team I don't really think makes sense. Right, like him and De'Aaron Fox, I think would kind of be counterproductive. Obviously he's another scoring threat. He would give already high-powered offense even more high-power offense. But I don't feel like he makes them that much better, like he would with a team like Miami. Right, like Miami, the Sixers, and the Lakers, I think make a world of sense. I think Miami and Philly, I think he would really genuinely improve, but I don't think he does that with Sacramento, right? I don't think he really, he might make them slightly better, but I don't think I like them any more than I would already. And I think there might be an argument that he could make them potentially worse. Because one, you'd have to match the salary of $40 million, but he's, a volume shooter and scorer. When you have a guy in De'Aaron Fox who he's been brilliant, he's been also one of the most clutch players in the league and a league leader in the fourth quarter and stuff like that. Like, I don't think that Lavine is the guy you really need, right? Like if you could get, say, a Kevin Durant, yes, I think Sacramento would be terrifying, right? Because Kevin Durant is so efficient and so effective, and De'Aaron Fox could kind of just be De'Aaron Fox. But like Zach Lavine, the things that he's good at, which is like, just being a scorer and lighting it up, but also a rim pressure player, a guy that can constantly put pressure on the rim, shoot over the top, all that stuff. You have that in De'Aaron Fox. I feel like, De'Aaron Fox and Zach Lavine would kind of counter, not butt heads in the sense of like they wouldn't like each other, but butt heads in the play style, right? Kind of, you see it now with like DeMar and Zach Lavine at times. I think it'd be a lot of like just you go, I go, you go, I go, which doesn't really make sense. But Miami, I think he makes a world of sense in. And then the Sixers, I think he makes a world of sense in. If you want more of my thoughts on like the other teams, I have a video coming out later today on As It Stands Sports. Go check it out. But anyway, Lakers. Obviously, if it's his preferred destination, he's going to try what he can to push for that, right? As you saw, like with Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix was his preferred destination. That was the team that he was really trying to push heavily to go to. There was a couple other teams that maybe could have been in the works, but ultimately he ended up landing in his preferred destination. So it's very possible that Zach Lavine kind of does, hey, get me to the Lakers. He was wearing a LA hat the other day in a post-game interview, which many thought was very interesting. So I definitely think that there is the level of interest on both sides. I think that is clearly apparent. But I still would not get my hopes up at all. I am still standing by. I do not believe the Lakers are going to be able to trade for Zach Lavine. Could they? Absolutely. Will they? I don't think so. Do they want to? Absolutely. I just don't think that they're going to be able to outbid some of these other teams, right? Like, you look at a team like the Sixers, they have just more assets and things that they could put together to go and acquire Zach Lavine. Miami, same thing, right? Like, if Miami is willing to give up Tyler Hero, right, then they probably win that trade. Even if they don't give up Tyler Hero, they have several picks that they could use to go and trade, and they could also trade all of their young guys and make that work, and even trade like a Duncan Robinson or whatever just to match salaries. So they would be in a good spot. And then Philly, same thing. They got a bunch of assets and stuff in which they could do a trade. Where the Lakers, we're limited. We have the 2029 or 2023 2029 or 2030 first round pick. And that's basically it as far as picks go. Now they could, I believe, trade like a pick swap. They could do and work out a pick swap. And then they have some seconds and stuff to throw in there. But I don't think that's enough to get Zach Lavine. I think it's enough to get DeMar DeRozan, because I don't think that there's going to be a huge bidding war for DeMar DeRozan. And I think that everyone knows DeMar wants to go to the Lakers. And I think that him being a free agent kind of gives DeMar a little more leverage than Zach Lavine does, because even like Zach Lavine could publicly come out tomorrow and be like, I only want to go to the Lakers. I don't want to go anywhere else. If you send me anywhere else, I'm not going to play. Right? We saw something like that similar happen this offseason, right? With Damian Lillard. And guess what? Didn't work. The Milwaukee Bucks said, okay, we'll take that chance that you're not going to play and we're just going to trade for you. Guess what? Damian Lillard's playing. Right? So a team like Philly, a team like Miami, very well could do the same thing, right? They could just say, hey, we know you want to go to the Lakers, but we want you here. We like you. We think you can make an impact and help us potentially win a championship. So we're going to trade for you anyway, right? I also think just the salary is a problem, right, for the Lakers, because you could literally go and trade for DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and Andre Drummond for the same price that it would cost you to get Zach Lavine. I would rather go do that. Or even if you can't get Alex Caruso, which I think Alex Caruso is going to be extremely tough also. But even if you can't get Alex Caruso, I still think I would rather have Andre Drummond and DeMar DeRozan. Because DeMar's going to do a lot of the same stuff that Zach Lavine does. So I think you have that balance either way. And I just think DeMar DeRozan is going to be much cheaper. I get that Lavine would be better long-term because he's 28, but I don't think him and Anthony Davis are enough to win an NBA championship. Like, I don't. Like, Zach Lavine isn't like a superstar. Like, where does Zach Lavine rank as far as like top players? He's not a top 10 player. He's not a top 15 player. He's not a top 20 player. Is he a top 25 player? Top 30 player? Like, where does he rank as far as like top players go? Like, when he's on, like when he's cooking, I mean, he's up there with the best of them without a doubt, right? He's amazing when he's on, but I don't think he is that superstar that goes and takes us to the promised land post LeBron James, right? So I just think if you go get DeMar, you probably have DeMar as long as you have LeBron and AD. And once LeBron leaves, DeMar's probably gone too, because he's probably going to retire, because at that point he's probably 37 or whatever. And then also he's going to be on a smaller salary, right? He'll probably make 20 to 25 million a year. And so you'll have more flexibility. You'll be probably just as good, maybe even better. And then once this is all done and wrapped up, you'll have a world of cap space. And enough to go get 2 stars and build a super team. So I would rather go that approach. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. So I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you agree? Do you think go with DeMar, stay away from Zach Lavine? Do you disagree and think, no, you got to get Zach Lavine? What do you think of his preferred destinations? Where would you like to see him land? If you don't want him on, even if you want him on the Lakers, what destination would you like to see Zach Lavine land? Is there a specific place other than the Lakers? Like, would you rather see him on Miami, Philly, maybe New York? Supposedly, he doesn't want to go to New York, so we'll see. But anyway, again, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below.